Welcome to the Writer's Journey podcast. I'm Michael Laron, a science fiction and fantasy author on a journey to go from nobody to bestseller, and I'm documenting every step of the way. Tune in every week as I pull back the curtain on my writing life and how I'm building a writing career while working a full-time job, raising a family, and attending law school classes in the evenings. You can find show notes for this week's episode, a free starter library of my fiction, and much more at michaellaron.com. Hello and welcome to episode 139. 139 is a good number, and I titled this episode, I have no idea who I am anymore, because I have to tell you guys, I don't even know why I'm doing this podcast, because yesterday I fell down and I hit my head and I woke up and I had no idea who I was, because I'm in amnesia mode. I know I probably got some people's blood pressure up. I didn't mean to trigger you. I'm fine, but I am in amnesia mode. So my running joke is I fell down and hit my head and I have no idea who I am. And I'm looking at all these 50 books that I've written, and I have no idea how to market them and how to make them make me money. So what am I doing? I am feverishly rereading all the marketing books I have, retaking all the marketing courses I've taken, relearning marketing, pretending that I know nothing. And so I'm going to talk about how the first week of amnesia mode is going. But first things first, I want to let everybody know that my next writing power hour is going to be this Saturday, November 7th at 11:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. And it is going to be a joint session with my good buddy Dale Roberts of Self-Publishing with Dale. I'm not sure if anyone else will be joining. I know there were some open invites out to some other YouTubers, but I don't know if they're ultimately available. But Dale and I are going to be writing, and Dale is writing some books. He's on a crazy nonfiction tear right now. He's writing a bunch of books, so he's getting some stuff in. I'm writing Good Necromancer Book 2, which I'm actually making some decent progress on that. And yeah, we're going to have some fun. Anytime Dale and I get in a room, we have a lot of fun. And yeah, so be sure to follow my YouTube channel. And we don't have links available yet. So one thing I will do is if you are on my mailing list, I will let people know when this goes live. And I'll also be broadcasting it on Twitter. All right. So I know some of you have written me and said, hey, Michael, I really enjoy these writing power hours, or I like them, but they're not at the same time every month. So I don't really know when you're going to have one. And it would be a lot better if you had it at the same time or the same week every month so that I could, plan for it. And I hear you and I get it. And that is my plan. But right now, with the end of the year coming up and the holidays coming up, it's just impossible. The third week of the month is probably the right week. So I plan to start doing a regular cadence for this starting in January. So I recognize it's kind of weird. I'm doing these piecemeal. Hey, here's the date. Hey, here's another date. My plan is to consolidate this and do a lot better job of making it consistent in 2021. So I hear you, and that is coming. So Saturday, November 7th at 11:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. Now, that's going to be a particularly interesting day. Saturday, why do I do these things to myself? All right, so I am also speaking at this year's annual Writer's Digest conference, and that begins at 9 o'clock. So I have an hour to speak. I'm going to be speaking on my book, Be a Writing Machine, How to Be Productive, How to Write Faster and Smarter, and Beat Writer's Block Forever. And if you have not read Be a Writing Machine, you would love it. If you have read Be a Writing Machine, I'm kind of preaching to the choir, but I still think there'd be some things that you'd find valuable. So you can sign up if you're not registered for the Writer's Digest conference. There are going to be a lot of great speakers there, and they always do a really good job. It's going to be virtual this year. You can get that at writersdigestconference.com. So I'm speaking. I have to be on stage, like on virtual stage, at 8:30 a.m. And I'm taking an assistant with me on that because there's some weird stuff with their platform that I'm going to need some help with. So we're going to have to figure that out. And then at 9 o'clock I speak. And at 10 o'clock, hopefully I'm done. Then at 11:15, I'm going on with Dale, and we're going to write. So I'm probably going to be a little fiery. My adrenaline's going to be kind of crazy. And then this coming Sunday, I'm doing another speaking appearance where I'm leading a workshop on how to use Scrivener. So there's a great workshop. The folks at Rewrite invited me. They're based in London, and they've got a workshop of folks who are wanting to learn Scrivener. And so I'm going to be speaking there and helping some folks understand Scrivener. Kind of, if you've seen my Learn Scrivener in 20 Minutes video, it's going to kind of be like that. We're going to cover kind of the same things, go over a few of the new features in Scrivener, and it's going to be a great time. So this weekend is going to be kind of a crazy speaking week for me, and then this coming week I've got like 3 podcast interviews. So things are nuts. I thought things would die down in November, but they don't seem to be doing that, which is A-okay with me. Showing up on speaking appearances and things like that is definitely one of my favorite things to do. So I'm not worried in the least. Now, I also wanted to let everybody know, and I'm going to mention this next week as well, that my Beast Mode collection will be on sale until Saturday, November 14th at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. So this is a collection of all the 7 books that I wrote during Beast Mode. You can get them all with I think it's about a 20% discount at, or no, it's actually, you can get all the books together for the one price of $34.99, but you can get a 10% discount. I'm sorry, I misspoke there, by using the coupon code TrueFan2020 at my website. So it's available on Kobo. It's also available on Apple. But if you'd like to pick that up, this collection is going to go away sharply at Saturday, November 14th at 11:59 p.m. So this will be the only time for the foreseeable future that I ever offer all of these books in one. So it's a great opportunity if you're one of my fans. If you buy the book directly from me on my shop at authorlevelup.com using that coupon code, or whether you don't use it, anyone who buys from me directly will be entered into a drawing where I'm going to be giving away a consultation session of 30 minutes to 2 lucky people. Wow, I can't speak today. 2 lucky people. I know you guys had asked me to do this. A few of you had written in over the course of the year asking when I would do it again. Now you know I'm doing it again, and so that is an opportunity for you to kind of just pick my brain if you want to do that. But ultimately, it'll be all about you. So those are the announcements for the week. The win for the week that I just wanted to share. Oh, and I should probably share the link to Beast Mode Collection. That's authorlevelup.com/beast mode. That's authorlevelup.com/beast mode. Now, win for the week, I think I mentioned on this show, I picked up a little exercise bike, and I've been using it every day. So I've been exercising at a minimum about 30 to 45 minutes every day. And if you know anything about me, that's a really big deal. I hardly got any exercise before that. And so I just kind of had the realization that I've got to start doing a better job of taking care of myself and staying healthy and getting moving. And so I've got this exercise bike, and it's working really well, and it's got a little desk on it, so I can put my computer on there and listen to conference calls or whatever, or do some training and stuff while I'm working out. It's pretty cool. So that is a win for the week for me. Now, the idea or lesson learned this week is and I'm going to talk about this in Amnesia Mode. So I've been learning a lot about copywriting. And one of my strategies, I think, for this Amnesia Mode is I need to get better at copywriting. Right now, I'd say my copywriting skills are probably like a D-. I mean, they're better than some because, I sell a decent amount of books, and so that's great. But for fiction, I give myself an F. I could do a lot better with fiction. For my nonfiction and some of my email stuff, I give myself like a D-. I've got some flashes of brilliance here and there, but I'm not consistent, and I'd like to take that up to like a B, at least during this mode. And so I've been reading a lot of books and trying to get some different perspectives on copywriting, because I think that is the single most skill that will help me improve my sales for my fiction, my nonfiction, and virtually anything that I do. And so how do I do that? And so we're going to talk about that during the topic of the week. Now, idea of the week, there's this idea in copywriting. It's called a swipe file. And what copywriters do is anytime you come across a headline or a phrase or really good prose that seems like it converts people really well, what they do is they swipe it and they put it into a file. And whenever they need some inspiration for their next project, they look at the swipe file, and then they can take the essence of what's in the file and apply it to their copywriting. Now, it's not plagiarism because it's never recommended that you take someone's copy word for word. We all know that's copyright infringement. But a headline, taking it and tweaking it to suit your own purposes is perfectly fair game. And so a lot of copywriters that I know have physical swipe files where they'll actually just print out what the sentences that they see or the phrases that they see. Some people might keep stuff in Evernote. And I've been trying to figure out a way over the years to keep a better swipe file so that when I'm ready to write a book description, I have something that I can pull out, be inspired by, and rely on. And I've found over the years, and this is just it's Michael Laron's opinion only. I don't know anyone else who even keeps a swipe file, but I found that it's really hard to organize. Like I don't always know the right thing to put in the right place. And so my idea, and this is something I thought about implementing for myself, is a way to capture good copy and then put it into like a database or some sort of tool and categorize it in a logical way. So that, let's say that I'm writing an email for my monthly newsletter. I can go into this and I can say I want an email, and the goal of the email is to do X, to sell a product, or maybe it's to inform someone that something's out there. And then what the database does, or whatever the tool is, it returns me all of the copy that suits that purpose in a highly organized and logical way. I think that would be great. And so then as I start to capture copy out there on the interwebs, I can grab it really quickly, throw it into this database real quick, into its logical place for everything in its place, right? And then when it's ready for me, I can just recall it at the snap of a button. To me, that makes a lot of sense, especially when I think about the fact that I'm going to be running Amazon ads a lot. So I'm going to be in Amazon ads a lot. So when I need to pull out a new ad at 10 o'clock at night and my brain is just not working, it would be great to be able to get some inspiration from some of these things. Same thing with the book description. I often find myself at the last minute having to come up with a book description, and it's a 50-50 chance on whether it's good or not. And that's just, for someone who wants to make a career out of writing, that's just not acceptable. I have to do better with that. And so how do I help myself get better at that? Well, I think a digital copywriting swipe file as a way to organize all my thoughts would be the way to do it. Anyway, it's an idea for you. Consider that, and there's probably lots of tools out there that you could use to do it. But I think the challenge with a swipe file is, one, how do you develop a system to capture really good copy that you see on the internet? What tools do you use to do that, and how consistent can you be with it? Number two, when you've captured it, how can you organize it in a way that makes sense so that you can pull from it quickly? And then step three is, how do you apply it in the fastest and most efficient way possible? Because if you spend hours and hours maintaining this, it doesn't make any sense, right? So that's kind of some of the things that I'm thinking about with this, and something very positive that could come about as a result of this Amnesia Mode. So anyway, Amnesia Mode, how are we doing? Well, I want to make this about marketing, because I know that many of you listening to this is the perennial bugbear that just keeps rearing its ugly head. You've written this amazing novel, and you come to the point where you need to start marketing it, And then you start to realize, I don't know I don't know what I'm doing, you know? And so there becomes this really weird push and pull for a lot of writers, I believe. And I think this myself included, where our safety net is to resort back into our next book, because that's one of the only things that's in our control. We can't control whether someone's going to buy our book. We can write the best copy in the world. We can tell the best story. We can price it appropriately. And we got all sorts of things we can do, but that's not going to guarantee that someone's going to buy it. And we can do that with all of our books, and some books sell better than others. And so when you're early in your career, it can feel like it's really difficult to get this marketing boulder moving. And in many respects, that never really goes away. And I think, and this is just my theory, but I think that a lot of people just keep kicking that can down the road because they think that maybe one day it'll get easier. But what I'm learning is that I'm going to have to start grabbing that bull by the horns. I've been lucky. There's been a lot of things that I've done over the years for both my fiction and my nonfiction that's paid dividends. A lot of things that I didn't expect. For example, getting my books into audio was a smart decision, and it's something that I don't really have to pay that much attention to because it's a pretty reliable stream of income for me, particularly with my fiction. But those were things that I just kind of did. It was part strategic, but not really quite strategic. And so how do I get better at marketing my work? And what can I share with you that I'm learning so that maybe there's, I never recommend taking people's advice wholesale because I think that that's never a good idea. But is there something in some of the things that I'm learning that you can learn from and inspire you to, take something to the next level? So I want to talk about a few things that I've learned, and it's really not about me. This is really more just general marketing tips that maybe, you're like, Michael, Captain Obvious. Okay, great. Or maybe it's like, maybe this is interesting. So this is just really just a idea exchange here. So one of the books that I read early on was a book that is pretty famous in the writing space in terms of copywriting, and that was I believe it's How to Write a Sizzling Synopsis by Brian Cohen. And Brian Cohen needs no introduction. He's a great guy. He's definitely one of the best at copywriting, and so the book is in many ways a distillation of his ideas around copywriting. And one of the things that he says in the book that I thought was very helpful. It's kind of obvious, but it's not. If you don't write enough book descriptions, you don't really think about it. And that's this idea of a selling paragraph. So in your book description, you outline the stakes, you introduce the hero, you introduce the villain. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it, but let's just say that this is how you would do it, right? And then when it's time to start the sale, because basically your book description is going to end with you asking the reader for the sale. But how do you start that? And Brian's idea is this idea of a selling paragraph. And that selling paragraph uses emotional adjectives and genre cues, those are his words, to get readers in the right mood. So this should use words and emotions that the reader can identify with and end it with a cliffhanger. And a lot of that sounds kind of generic, but one of the things that I've started to appreciate about book descriptions and copy in anything, and not just book descriptions, is the fact that it is, gosh, I can't remember who said this. This is I use these words not as my own, but as someone else's who came up with it. As salesmanship in print. That's really what copywriting is. And that was a great light bulb moment for me. Okay, copywriting is salesmanship in print. And if you look at the book descriptions of a lot of people, and I think you probably could look at a number of mine, especially in fiction, it's not salesmanship in print. It's a synopsis of the damn book. And so I have to keep reminding myself how different copywriting is compared to actual writing. And if you're just kind of phoning it in and you're not really putting the attention into it and thinking of it as salesmanship in print, then there's a really good chance that your book description is leaving a lot of things on the table. And so that was something that I picked up from Brian in rereading this book. I think I've read it like 3 times, and I get something new out of it every time. So that was one thing that I thought was very helpful. And so maybe you'll find that helpful too, to think about copywriting as salesmanship in print. And then another thing that I kind of stumbled across, I was reading another copywriting book, and I won't say who this was because it's really not that important. But I was reading a copywriting book, and I happened to there was an offer in the book, I think, of click here and you'll get some special bonus or whatever. I don't remember what it was, but I clicked on it, and I happened to find a landing page that was super outdated. I mean, I'm not even going to say what was on this landing page, but it was very clear when you look on the landing page that whoever runs this thing hasn't even looked at it in probably 10 years. I'm just going to leave it there. All right. And so I thought to myself, wow, that's interesting. It's interesting in a bad way, because this particular book was a pretty popular book. And I didn't look up the rank on Amazon or anything, but I'd imagine it probably sells a decent amount of money every year, a decent amount of copies. And so I thought to myself, how many people are buying this book, or in my case, rereading it and clicking on this offer because the copy is great, right? They're clicking on this offer and they go to this website that looks like it was coded 10 years ago with this outdated offer. And I wonder how many people click away from that because the landing page isn't timeless. And so that got me thinking, it's a really good idea, Michael, because I have amnesia. It's a really good idea to maybe take a look at your website and look at your landing pages where you're sending people from your books, and how timeless are they? How evergreen are they? If someone picks up one of your books that you wrote 5-7 years ago and they come to your landing page, is it going to look like that landing page was created 5 to 7 years ago, or is it going to look like it was created yesterday? And so I took the opportunity to take a look at my fiction landing pages for my special offers and my nonfiction landing pages. And lo and behold, there were some things that I could tweak. There were some things on, I think, my fiction fan club in particular that were maybe a little bit outdated. And so I took the opportunity to fix that and make it so that no matter when you come to this site, if it's now or if it's 5 to 7 years into the future, it's going to look like I put it up yesterday. Now I'm going to have to eventually need a new website, so that'll create a wrinkle in that. But making sure that the copy doesn't date itself, that you don't have any dates in there, all those things are really, really important. And so by doing that, I hope, this is just a hope. I don't have any way to quantify this, but I would hope that people don't leave the landing page because they have a doubt in the back of their head that, hey, maybe this guy's not committed to this book anymore. Like, I wrote a book called Indie Poet Rockstar, and that book was written in 2015. In many ways, it predicted exactly what happened with self-publishing and the poetry movement. And it would be really easy for that book to get outdated. And so how do I make sure that that doesn't happen? All right. So that was another thing I learned this week. Take a look at your landing pages. Take a look at your website. Is there anything that you can update so that it looks timeless? All right. And so another thing I wanted to share is that I was reading another copywriting book, because I have a fair number of them. I was reading another copywriting book, and as I read it, I was in the middle of like chapter 17 or something, and the next page, it literally was right in the middle of the chapter. All of a sudden, there was an ad for this lead magnet that this copywriter was trying to sell to people. And he's saying, oh, you can get this. It's a $197 value for free or whatever it was. And it was this giant ad for the book. And the ad just kept appearing and appearing every I don't know, like 10 or 20 pages, and it was kind of obnoxious. And I thought, this is really irritating. Like, this is probably not a good idea. Maybe that works in like a magazine catalog or something, but it doesn't work here. And then that got me thinking about my own links and my own books. Are there times when I am personally interrupting the flow of my books and pulling readers out of the flow of reading? Because what this guy was doing is he was interrupting my reading experience to try to hard sell me something, which in this case I think it was joining a mailing list. And I can't help but think to myself, every time somebody clicks through to that, and by the way, it wasn't even active anymore. So this guy committed the same sin. But every time somebody clicks through to that, not only does it take them out of the flow, it makes them more open and susceptible to not ever coming back to the book. I mean, just the other day, I happened to be it's like a mailing list that came to my inbox, and I clicked on a link that was in the email, and 30 minutes later, I finally came back to the mailing list. I ended up going down a rabbit hole. And I think the moment people leave your book, you're in a lot of danger. That's something that seeing someone execute that really badly made me realize that maybe I'm making some mistakes in my own books. And so I looked at some of my own books and I realized, maybe I have an opportunity here. Because one of the things I like to do is I always like to provide links and sources and things of other people's ideas and things like that. What if instead of using them as links, I converted those into footnotes so that readers would be less likely to click on the link while they're reading and more likely to come back to it down the road? Or what if I need to start pulling those links out into an appendix, right? So that and this is particularly a problem with my nonfiction, so that when someone is sitting down to read one of my books, I'm not interrupting the experience in any shape or form. It is completely keeping them in the realm of my book until they are ready to leave themselves. I don't want to be the reason they leave. I would hope that my books are written well enough and are engaging enough that they earn your attention. Okay, and if they don't, that's on me. That's not on you. But what I would also hope that I'm not doing is that I'm not shooting myself in the foot by sending someone off to Wikipedia or some magazine article that got written to prove a point, and then they see so many interesting things in that article that they go down a rabbit hole and then they never come back to my book. So, yeah, Amnesia Mode. It's funny. It's funny how you can see something that someone else does, and that triggers you to kind of rethink how you're doing things. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, just real quick, is I've been reading probably the best book on copywriting I've ever read, and that is Copy That Sells by Ray Edwards. Ray Edwards is a pretty legit copywriter. He's done copywriting for a lot of famous people, and he definitely has the street cred. But I was rereading the book again, and it was clicking in ways that it hadn't clicked for me in the past. One of the things that I respond really, really well to is when people break down concepts into little parts that are part of a whole, like that, and they show you how they contribute to the whole. And Edwards does this really, really well. He talks about how there's one chapter in the book where he talks about bullet points and how bullet points are a key element to any kind of sales copy. Because he talks about 3 concepts that are really important to understand with copywriting. And again, this is why this guy clicked with me. It never clicked with me before. He said there's 3 things people don't do when they read your copy. The first thing they don't do is they don't read it because they skim it. So they skim all the way down to the bottom. The second thing they don't do is they don't believe what you're saying because people have been ripped off and scammed over the internet. So they're going to be skeptical of anything that you are saying. And then the third thing that they don't do is they never buy right away because it's your job to sell to them. And what he talked about in the book is that bullet points are what start to get them to read your copy, because when they're scanning, they see the bullet points, and that's what starts to capture their attention. And that's all fine and dandy. That's all good, right? But what really put it over the edge for me was then he started talking about the 10 different types of bullet points. And I was like, huh? 10 different types of bullet points? I just thought a bullet point was a bullet point. But no, there are different types of bullet points that you can use as a copywriter. And he started explaining what those 10 bullet points were. And then I started connecting those with bullet points that I had seen in other people's book descriptions, bullet points that I had seen on sales pages, bullet points that I had seen when people were promoting their work. And then it clicked for me in a way that it never clicked before. And so now this book is great because what it does is it breaks the essential elements of copywriting into like Legos so that you can take them and just start stacking them together for your book description. I mean, I was reading this book and just fireworks were going off all over my head. So I have put a link to the book. This is an affiliate link, by the way. But if you're interested in checking this book out, I think it's like $10, $12. If you are kind of like me and you want to learn the basics of copywriting, oh my gosh, you cannot go wrong with this book. You can't go wrong with it. He talks about stuff in this book that I've never seen anybody else talk about. And another great thing about this book is that there's no bullshit in it. Like a lot of copywriting books, there's bullshit in it. You know, they're just selling you the concepts of copywriting so they can get you to buy a course or they can get you to sign up for a list or something. And this book is devoid of that, which I really appreciate. And I think it's going to make a really big difference in terms of how I start thinking about approaching my book descriptions when I'm ready to do it. So as I continue with Amnesia Mode, I want to let everybody know that I'm going to be continuing my blog. So I'm going to be sharing a lesson learned every day and a lesson executed every day. So it's not enough just to learn things. I've also got to be implementing things from now until January 15th so that when I get to January 15th, hopefully my sales are going to look a lot different. And hopefully my copywriting skills are going to be a lot better. And there's going to be a lot of things I'm doing that are a lot better. And maybe I can share some of those learnings with all of you as well. So that's all I had for this week. Hopefully everybody is safe, healthy, keeping your sanity with all of the stuff going on with the elections here in the United States. And I will plan on talking to you next week. Take care. Thanks for joining me this week. If you enjoyed this episode, you'll enjoy my backlist episodes at michaelaran.com/podcast. For your free starter library of my favorite novels, join my fan club by visiting michaelaran.com/fanclub. If you're a writer and want to connect with me further, check out my YouTube channel, Author Level Up, for helpful writing advice at authorlevelup.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week.